Hello, everybody. I'm at the back of St. George's Church, and I'm ready to read some children's stories. I've got a couple of Bible story books. One is my very first Bible, and this has Old Testament stories in it. And I have another one over here, and it's called the Illustrated Family Bible Stories. It has some really interesting things in it. So I thought we could maybe use both Bibles as we read the story of Abraham. Now, his name really wasn't Abraham to start. His name was Abram. A-B-R-A-M. Abram. And his wife's name was Sarai. Starts with an S. S-A-R-A-I. Sarai. Kind of sounds like Sarah, but it was Sarai. So, Abram and Sarai. And here's their story. Here's a picture of Abram. He's got a big beard. And this must be Sarai here, because she has a special kind of necklace that went across her forehead. A promise to Abraham. Well, after Abram and Sarai after they met God, their names changed to Abraham and Sarah. So that's where this story picks up. Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah lived in the city of Haran. They had lots of goats and sheep and donkeys and camels and plenty of servants to take care of them, but they had no children. So they lived in a city that starts with an H, Haran, and they had no kids. And by the looks of it, they were getting kind of old to be having kids. One day, God told Abraham to leave Haran. Start traveling, he said, and I will show you where to go. Abraham and Sarah and all their servants and animals started walking. When they came to the land of Canaan, God told them to stop. Now, this is an important place, Canaan. Can you say that? Canaan. Canaan. God called Abraham and Sarah to leave their home in Haran and go to Canaan because he had a very special promise for them. He had a really important job for them to do when they got to Canaan. So they took all their servants and all their goats and all their sheep and all their camels. Can you imagine how many people and animals that would be? Just to get a cat packed up in a cat carrier is a big deal. Our cat, Poochie, hates to get in her carrier. And she makes these loud meow, these loud yowls. Meow. Our dog Max, he likes to get in the car, but Poochie doesn't. Can you imagine trying to get all the goats and sheep and camels moving as they left home and started for, what was the name of that country? It starts with a k sound. Canaan, as they started for Canaan. One night God said, Abraham, I will make you into a great nation. But I have no children, said Abraham. Just look at the stars and count them if you can, said God. That is how big your family will grow someday. And Abraham believed what God said. Wow. God told Abraham that he would have kids, that he and Sarah were going to have a family, and that it would be a big, big, big family, as many as the stars in the sky. I don't think we can really count the number of stars. Have you ever gone outdoors when it's past your bedtime and looked up, and have you seen how many stars there are in the sky? God told Abraham that his family would have more than the number of stars. Wow. And Abraham believed God. That's what you call faith, when you believe without seeing first. A son for Sarah. One day, Abraham had 3 important visitors. "Where is your wife, Sarah?" they asked. "She's in the tent," said Abraham. "This time next year, Sarah will have a baby," the visitors told Abraham. Sarah was listening behind the tent door. "Ha, ha, ha," she laughed. "I'm too old to have a baby." The visitors knew that Sarah had laughed, so they said, "Is anything too hard for God?" What do you think? Do you think anything is too hard for God? He made this world. He's made the trees to grow. He made the birds so that they could fly high, high, high. He made dogs and cats and people. He made little flowers and put their petals perfectly in order around the middle. Is anything too hard for God? The visitors asked Sarah. What do you think? I don't think so. I think that God can do anything. He is all powerful. So that was Sarah with the special kind of jewelry on around her head like the women wore. And here are the 3 visitors talking to Abraham. Can you see them? 1, 2, 3. And they're talking to Abraham. And they said, "This time next year, Sarah will have a baby boy." Sure enough, a year later, Sarah did have a baby boy. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. 100 years old. There's Isaac. He's got pretty fat cheeks in that picture. And look at the great big smile on his mother Sarah's face. Sarah was so happy. "Who would believe that an old woman like me would have a baby?" she said. "Now everyone who hears about this will laugh and be happy with me." When you were born, your mother and father had a smile just like Sarah's. To have a baby is such a gift, such a blessing from the Lord. And you would have had those cheeks like Isaac. Look, he's just got those fat little cheeks, and she's got him all wrapped up with a blanket. And she's so happy to be a mummy. And that's how it was when you were born. You weren't as big as a loaf of bread, but you brought great joy to your mother and father. You are God's special gift. When Isaac, Sarah, and Abraham's baby grew up, Abraham called his chief servant and said, "My son Isaac is ready to get married, so go back to my relatives and find a wife for my son." Wow, look at the activity here. The servant packed the camels and started on his way. Can you count how many camels he took? Let's see if we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted 9. Last year, when I was away, I would sometimes see camels on the side of the road, and they'd be in groups of 5 or 6, 7 or 8. But this time, the servants packed 9. Let's count those together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They packed up all kinds of stuff on those camels. What do you think they packed? Well, for the trip, they would have to take lots of food, and they would take, in that food, I bet they took some peanut butter sandwiches, and maybe some O. Henry bars, and maybe some, what? Maybe some spaghetti? I don't think so. I don't think they took spaghetti. I don't think they took peanut butter sandwiches either, or O. Henry bars. They didn't have O. Henry bars. But I bet they took a lot of food. And they took some water. And I bet they took some clothes. And maybe they took some blankets to sleep. And maybe they took a TV. No, they didn't take a TV. I'm just joking. They probably took some money with them, because they knew they'd have to buy some stuff. It would be a long trip. They were going to find Isaac a wife. Okay. When the servant reached the town where Abraham's relatives lived, he prayed to the Lord. "Oh Lord," he said, "help me find a good wife for Isaac." Just then, a beautiful girl named Rebecca came to the well to get water. In those days, you didn't turn on the tap. There was a deep hole in the ground, and you had a bucket on a rope, and you'd let it down, 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 down until splash. You'd hear it hit the water. And then you'd let the bucket fill up with water, and you'd pull it up, 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 till the bucket got to the top where you could take it out, and then you'd put some water in the trough for the camels to drink. So the servant said, "Please, may I have some water to drink?" "Yes," said Rebecca, "and I will draw water for your camels too." The 10 camels were happy to get a drink after their long journey. Wait a minute, we only counted 9 camels. Well, it looks like there's 10. Can you see them? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there are 10. The 10 camels were happy to get a drink after their long journey. The servant stayed with Rebekah's family. He told them why he had come. "Will you go back with me to the land of Canaan and marry Isaac?" he asked Rebekah. What do you think she said? What a question. "Will you go back with me to the land of Canaan and marry Isaac?" Wow. Rebekah didn't even know Isaac. What do you think she said? She said yes. Rebecca left her family's nice house and went to marry Isaac. They lived in a tent, and they were very happy. And here they are, Rebecca and Isaac. And Isaac is the son of Abraham and Sarah. So Abraham and Sarah and their son Isaac, and he married Rebecca. And the Lord was the one who put them together, who helped that servant find the right person, the right wife for Isaac. Okay. Now, before we go on to the next part in this, I wanted to look at the pictures in this illustrated family stories, Bible stories. Okay, let's see what we can see here. This is a picture right here of God calling Abraham. And Abraham, with all his servants, are getting the sheep and the goats and the camels together. And they're getting ready to leave Haran and go to Canaan. Okay. And then there's a map here that shows how they went. Would have been very dusty. In those countries, there's a lot of sand. And sometimes the wind whips up. Let's see if we can make the noise of the wind. And then it starts to really blow, and the sand blows just like the snow blows in Canada. And only it gets in your eyes and it gets in your ears, and you have to keep your eyes hardly open. You have to keep them almost shut when you're walking. Well, when Abraham and Sarah went from Haran to Canaan, they would have ran into some sandstorms, no doubt. See what other pictures we got. Oh, look at this one. After Isaac was born, when the servant was gone to look for a wife for Isaac, he would have cooked his supper just in the desert, in the sand, maybe with a little fire and a pot. Maybe he made macaroni and cheese. No. Maybe he cooked something in that pot, maybe a little bit of soup. And then he went on the next day, believing that the Lord would show him the right wife for Isaac. Well, those pictures were pretty good. We're going to read one more part before we stop for today. We have Isaac and Rebekah, and now they're married, and they're going to have kids of their own. Here goes. Isaac and Rebekah had twin boys. I don't think we have any twins. Yes, we do. We have twins. We have twins at St. George's. And that's what happened with Isaac and Rebekah. They had twin boys. And they named them Esau, who was born first, and he was red and hairy. And then they had Jacob. Jacob was born second. When twins are born, one is born before the other, and it may just be a couple of minutes difference when the mummy has the babies. So first Esau, who had red hair and was very hairy, and then came Jacob. And the Bible says that Isaac was very close to Esau, his son, and Rebekah was very close to Jacob. So the twin boys were Esau and Jacob. When the boys grew up, they were as different as the sun and the moon. They were as different as apples and oranges. Esau hunted wild animals out in the fields, but Jacob was a quiet man who liked to stay home. Look at them. Interesting, very different. One day Isaac said to Esau, "Go hunting and bring me back some tasty meat to eat. Then I will bless you before I die." You see, Isaac was getting very old, and he wanted to give a blessing to his oldest son, Esau. So he told Esau to go out hunting and bring back some meat so they could have a special meal for the blessing. But when Esau left, Rebekah whispered to Jacob, his brother, and said, "Hurry up. Go get dressed in your brother's clothes, and I will make your father his favorite supper, and you take it into him, and you get the blessing before your brother Esau." So she put goat skin on his arms and neck to make him feel hairy like his brother. And then she said, go get your brother's blessing. So let's look at these pictures very closely. Here's Esau. He's got the red hair and he's very hairy. And here's Jacob. And Esau is the hunter, and Jacob is more quiet and at home. And here's Isaac, very old now, their father Isaac, and he says to Esau, "Go get some meat so we can have a special meal and I can bless you." But down here, here's Rebekah telling Jacob to hurry up and get dressed in his brother's clothes and go in and get his blessing. Wow, that's cheating. That's really cheating. Isaac was old and he couldn't see, but when he sniffed the clothes and touched Jacob's arms, he said, "Yes, you are my son, Esau." Then he gave Jacob the blessing he was going to give Esau. "May God give you plenty to eat and drink, and may everyone else serve you." Wow. When Esau came back, he found out that he'd been tricked. He burst into tears and cried, "Bless me too, Father. Oh, please bless me too." But it was too late. Isaac had already given the blessing to Jacob. From then on, Esau was angry with Jacob. Sometimes the Lord works in very mysterious ways. He doesn't work things out the way that we think they should be worked out. His ways are so much better and higher. And he can use the smallest things, and he can use the strangest people to do his work. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. He used Jacob's trick to work out his plan. And we're going to read more about that the next time. It doesn't mean that we should cheat or lie. That's not it at all. but God can use people's mistakes to work out his plan. And his plan is always perfect. We just have to believe and trust in him. So before I go, let's try to remember all the people we met today in the Bible story. Abraham and his wife Sarah, and they were very old when God gave them a son, and that son was Isaac. And then Abraham sent his servant to his family, his relatives, to look for a wife for Isaac. And the servant found Rebekah. The Lord had put them together so that Rebekah would become Isaac's wife. And then Isaac and Rebekah had 2 kids, twin boys. Do you remember their names? One starts with the letter E. Esau. And he was red-haired and very hairy. And the other's name was Jacob. And Jacob tricked his father into giving him his brother's blessing. So sometimes in the Bible, quite often we hear of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham is the grandfather, Isaac was the father, and Jacob was the grandson. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We'll hear more about them the next time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to read your Bible story tonight. God bless you. Bye for now.